Hey, you're watching the Fargo 3D Printing Show. My name is Aaron Grubbs. I'm the community manager for that game company. And we made this fancy game here, Journey. You can watch an interview with me later on in the show.
Hey everyone, this is John Schneider and Eric Faldy with the Fargo 3D Printing Show. We're on episode 54. Jake is out this week, so we're going to be changing things up a little bit, playing around with the format, doing some different types of stories.
Interviews, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. So there'll be an interview later on in this podcast if everything goes well.
Yeah.
So Eric, this first thing that we wanted to talk about is, well, it has to do with what we have on the table and what you have on your hand.
Okay, so I'm wearing a ring. This is on my right hand, so don't come asking me about that. But there's a video game called Journey. It came out in 2012. It's from that game company, and I know a guy that works there, so that's kind of what inspired this. I told him about 3D printing. He said, oh, hey, like someone 3D printed something from our game. And so he gave it to me, and I don't know if he was supposed to or not. So
the file, you mean?
Yeah, so we'll find out, because you can get it through Shapeways, but I'll get to that in a minute. So my friend told me about it, and I'm going to look at my notes because I forgot where I was going to go with this. It's created by Christina Douk. I think it's D-O-U-K. I hope it's Douk.
It's, yeah, D-O-U-K.
I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Christina D. Created by Douk 3D is her moniker. If you want to find out more, douk3d.com, and she's at Douk3D on Instagram, so maybe get back to that later. But then she went to the Academy of Arts in San Francisco, which is a really good school. I don't know if you know anything about it, but like Pixar has classes there.
Is that what I think is the acronym for that, SCAD? I don't know. I lose track of all the different
I actually don't know. I got my buttons going crazy. Academy of the Arts University. It's a super long, horrible name, but I had a friend that went there, and he took Pixar classes, and it just top of the line, expensive education. And she studied 3D modeling there, so she's good.
Yeah.
This was created in ZBrush and Maya. I think roughly made in Maya. And then ZBrush there's a mask that she put on here for the shapes. And then in ZBrush, she'd extrude it and then kind of smooth it out so it'd print a little bit better. We're going to get back to slicing, I think, after we play the interview stuff, but it was kind of a pain in the ass.
You had a challenging.
Yeah, it was my bad, but yeah, and then the ring that I got is a size 8, which I don't know anything about rings. I don't know if you do, but 18.2 millimeters in diameter, which I'm guessing is the inner diameter, because the outer diameter doesn't mean anything to somebody wearing a ring.
Right.
Yeah, it's available through Shapeways. You can print it off in, I think she printed it in bronze and like a silver. They were like super expensive.
Yeah, because there was,
one was pictures. I'm forgetting.
One was brass, I think, or maybe it was copper, and then the other one was silver. And she used two different service providers. One was Shapeways. I think the other one was Sculptio.
That's it.
Yeah, Sculptio was the other one. And so on the page, she actually does. I mean, Eric, I think you've watched the video. Does she do a full walkthrough of how she did the design behind the ring?
She did a sped up version.
I know she walks through some of it. Yeah, see, that kind of design software is stuff that it's completely out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, this is polygon modeling rather than like vector, I guess.
Solid modeling?
Yeah, so it's vector. So you're taking pretty much a square or something. You start with a shape, you just cut it essentially, and then you keep moving parts. It's kind of digital sculpting. And at ZBrush especially, that one's actually like you're sculpting. Like the way that I do it is just push and pull, kind of moving stuff with the mouse. You can have symmetry on, but ZBrush, and then I think Sculptress is their like cheap, like the free.
Yeah.
It's the same company, but it's free.
Yeah, I know. Sculptress is used in, I think there's a bunch of Instructables that walk through how to design in Sculptress. So it's kind of like, I don't know, if you look at Autodesk, they have Inventor and Fusion 360, and then they have 123D Design. So 123D Design would be the same as Sculptress is to, I guess, whatever the upper.
Yeah, ZBrush. ZBrush. Yeah, it's the same company. So this one looks like it was, I think it's gold-plated brass. So that was that one, which was really nice. Then we'll have the pictures up here for you guys. And then this was like a silver, I don't remember what it was, but they turned out really nice. Like, I didn't get great. This one turned out okay. I printed this one with supports, which I guess we'll just go into that now because I'm starting.
Yeah.
But the slicing, I had a horrible time. Like some of them I would print with supports like all the way around. And if you can see, they stick out a little bit, but not a whole lot. There's a little bit of drooping on this one. This one was printed without supports. But it came out better than, like this one I printed, I think, at an angle like that. And then it just came out horrible. There's a line Actually, where'd that other one go? That's under him. Yeah, there's a line on there, and it just looks bad. I can probably show you on here.
Because basically you tried to orient that print how you see it oriented on a lot of SLA stuff.
Yeah. It's printed at like a 45-degree angle, limited supports. This one's just so many little jutting things that cause quite a few problems. So you can see in this one, there's a little line right there. I think it just under extruded a little bit.
Yep. Well, and that's
all the supports.
And that's the tricky thing with designs that have just a little overhang on it, because for a lot of that you don't need to have supports. In most cases, the supports are going to cause more cleanup than just having a little droopy piece
That's
of
pretty
filament.
much what happened to me. And then it just with how small it was and how many supports there were. And I think probably the printer I was using maybe had like some crap in the nozzle already. So I mean, it was just a perfect storm to give me a bad time.
Yeah, we haven't been as religious about purging between materials.
Yeah,
as we
I've been trying to, but then it's just like, oh, it's fine. And then I look, it's like, oh, air printing again.
Yeah, it's like 8 times out of 10 you can go from one material to another, and you don't need to worry about using Dynapurge or something like that. But man, when you go from a composite material to a different composite material to a different composite material, and then you try and go to a regular PLA, the thing that we've ran into with the composite materials is if you don't switch materials right away, like if you preheat the printer and you just leave it preheated, the composite materials will tend to bake in there.
Or if you leave it overnight or something, that takes forever to clean out.
Yep.
I just have so many pictures of like failed prints. And it was just, it was really just...
Yeah, because you were...
I'd come back and
See, that's why it's taken a month to get to this podcast. Aaron's been working on the ring project that long. You should see the scrap box.
It's not too bad, but it was probably like 5 or 6 just... Because I printed this small one with supports. So like, oh, it looks bad, but maybe if it's bigger, the supports will come off easier. Like, no, it got worse, and then it would just clog. It would get maybe like 10 layers. I'll show some of these pictures, and it was just horrible.
Well, and that's the damnedest thing about some of the prints. Sometimes there'll be times I'll set up a 60-hour print, and it'll just go and go and go, no problems whatsoever. I mean, it'll print all the way through just fine. And then there's other prints, and it might even be the same printer, and it'll fail after 10 layers or something. And I mean, most of that stuff, as you print more, you start predicting, okay, well, this is why it failed. So you get better at knowing why. Yeah. Like sometimes even how it's sliced. Like we ran into something, okay, so another good example of having failed prints and having it happen kind of unpredictably. So using Simplify 3D as a slicer for the MakerBot Replicator 2. When you have really small circles, it tries to do them really fast. And then, so it goes really fast, and then it retracts it a little bit too far, and so it ends up, because it's only pushing out a little bit of filament and then retracting, pushing out a little bit of filament, retracting, it starts chewing through the filament, and that leads to it starting to air print. Now, that could all be changed by changing the retraction speed, by changing the retraction length, by changing the minimum layer speed. So you could say, okay, make each layer take at least 20 seconds. All right, well, that's going to slow your print down, so it's not going to be trying to do those circles as fast. Okay, reduce the retraction length. It's not going to pull it as far back up into the extruder. Reduce the retraction speed. It's not going to spin out, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it would take nothing I care too much about, because it's like, oh, I want to see how it turns out. Yeah. I'm not going to care if it's got a little dribble or drool or a little bit of cleanup.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, for that type of for those types of settings to change, more than 9 times out of 10, you're not even gonna know that there's anything going on with it. You're not gonna know that there's an issue with the slicing settings, because for every other print that you do, it doesn't have that geometry that affects it that way. So it just doesn't present itself as a problem until you hit that one print that it is a problem.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that happened with this.
Yeah.
There was another one. I'll show it to you. So that was one that I think her name was Amnra. It didn't have enough vowels in it for me to pronounce it easily.
Okay.
It's Ammnra. She's on Shapeways. I'm going to say she. I don't know. I just got the kind of feminine vibe from it. If you're not a girl, I'm sorry. This person, Amnra, on Shapeways, sells a ring as well. And they do other cool props, cosplay, jewelry, stuff like that. A lot of metal stuff. So it's not cheap, but I mean, if you're in that market, and you can't get it anywhere else.
None of it's really cheap.
Yeah, some of it's like Doctor Who or like Adventure Time, stuff like that. So we do have an interview that I haven't shot yet, so hopefully it goes great. I'm shooting it tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. It's Aaron Grubbs. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. I'll ask him tomorrow.
You know him better than I do.
Yeah, so we probably will have to chop stuff out of that interview. I know him too well, so we're going to ramble.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm going to ask him about an intellectual property because this is a fan-made item, and she is selling it on Shapeways. I don't know exactly the agreement with that. And also, I have the file, and I don't know, what rights I have to it. So
yeah.
If we can share it, I will. If I can't, I will share the link to the Shapeways. Not Shapeways. It was Shapeways.
Yeah, I think it's on Shapeways.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
It's probably on both Shapeways and Sculpteo.
Available through Shapeways. I think Sculpteo is more just for. I don't think you can go on there as a customer. I think you usually go on there.
Well, I think Sculpteo is still a printing service, but you need to have the. It doesn't act as a marketplace for designs.
No, you don't go on there and find stuff. I don't think.
Right.
So I think you'd have to go through. Christina? You'd have to go through the creator, Christina Douk.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Aaron, intellectual property, about fan works and then fair use.
Yeah, because I know that's been a big deal this last week. So there's been this whole issue with there's someone that is selling other people's designs on eBay. So what he's doing is he basically scraped, I think it's between 200 and 2,000 different designs from Thingiverse, and he's offering them for sale on eBay. Like he'll print it.
Oh, I was thinking like a shovelware or something.
So he's not selling the design files, but he's selling the printed parts. And there's been a big issue over this because a lot of the people that put files up on Thingiverse, they have a Creative Commons license.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are non-commercial. Some of them are fine with commercial use of those files as long as there's attribution.
Yeah.
But what the problem is, this seller on eBay isn't even providing attribution. He's not even giving credit to the designer. And the eBay seller is basically said, screw you, it's on the internet, I can do what I want.
Do you know what country he's based out of? Because I don't know. If it were China, for instance, I know that probably nothing's going to happen.
But the thing is, even in the US, and this is where it started to get a little bit cloudy, he brought up something where he's like, there has never been a CAD file that's been described as art or prior art. So you can't even say, hey, I've made this.
Like a remix thing or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. We could do an entire podcast on that. I'm sure your friend is going to be I
don't really know how much he knows about it. I just want to get his perspective on it because he is the community manager. So he's like the guy checking the sites. So he sees enough of the fan art and all the weird stuff that no one wants to see. But,
right.
So we'll go with that, and then I think it'll be me and Aaron in an interview.
All right, cool.
Hello, Eric Faldy. I'm here with Aaron Grubbs.
Good morning.
And we're going to do we're going to try it out, first interview of this kind of new format. We said that we're changing the format, but pretty much we're just adding interviews and then maybe try to make the show a little bit more segmented. This is the little setup that we made. Here's all the information about Aaron and a little fan character I made. Let's talk about Journey. That's the game that we're here to talk about.
So Journey, it kind of looks like this character here, but not really. Journey is where you play this little two-legged, no-armed thing in a robe or a cloak or whatever you want to call it, and it kind of walks around in the sand. You wake up and then you see in the background there's this mountain, and you're like, I gotta go. This is a mountain. What do I do? This mountain. So you walk over and you just go to the mountain, and I've like received emails that say that like my 3-year-old daughter died, and this helped me like go back into reality. And it's
it's really an open world game where you can kind of take from it what you wish.
It's linear, but as in it's like an open to interpretation sort of game. So there's like I've seen people talk about how it's I've had people talk about how the game is very Christian. I've had people talk about how it's very Islamic, how it's very Buddhist, how it's very atheist, and it's like people say like this, like I can definitely tell that you were like doing Buddhist, or I can definitely tell this was supposed to be a Christian game, and it's very surprising what people have taken out of it, and it's like kind of evolved. Like people around it have kind of changed like the meaning behind it also.
It's like coexist the bumper sticker, the game.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. You can 3D print like that'd be interesting. Like 3D print like a coexist bumper sticker thing, put that on your car.
That's something I've never thought of as far as like people have the Jesus fish or the Darwin fish, whatever side of the fence you're on. I'm sure people have thought of that. You could just glue it on.
Yeah.
That's good idea.
So I estimated your company $15.
Maybe.
Okay, so first off, I want to say that this is the exquisitely designed 3D model ring, inspired by, like, based on Journey by Christina Douk. That the link, we can say, like, the link is right here. Will that work?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
If it's not here, it's down below.
Yeah, somewhere
in the
link,
comments section.
Somewhere. Oh, you can put it in the video, right?
I could.
Oh yeah. You might be able to do like an annotation thing. So, anyways,
we can. There's information
somewhere. There's information either like over here, down here, maybe over here, but definitely not at the top. So it's okay. So, anyways, what happened is I got a message from Christina that she's like, hey, I made this super cool ring that you guys can look at. Do you think this is cool? And I was like, wow, that's super radical. That's woo.
Exquisite.
Exquisite.
Not sarcastic though. He meant He meant it at that time.
So she sent us like a couple pictures of this, and I was like, this looks really cool. Then I said, I asked her if we could share this out with the community, and she was like, yeah. So she was very excited about how excited we were about it, and everybody at that game company, they thought it looked really cool. And everyone was like, this would just be great to share out to people. So so we sent, so we had her send us the file, and then we put it up on a website, and we shared it out, and so people can download it and whatnot. Oh yeah, so Sony is actually the one that deals with all the copyright issues with Flow Flower and Journey. So we can't exactly talk about what their official position on those things are, or is the official position is. But what we can say is that Sony tends to be very open about fan art, and they'll let people make whatever, like this sort of thing. There's a chance that because of some of these symbols that are on this, that it could be considered copyright infringement, but like it'd be kind of hard to really push that, because this doesn't look like anything in the game. The only thing is that some of the designs, but you'd have to really be pushing it to really be able, well, for any court to be willing to listen to a copyright claim against this thing. With 3D models, we have had some requests for the 3D models for Journey.
I was kind of asking that too. It's like, hey, what's up with that?
Yeah, that's where basically like we have not asked Sony about it, and it's also that we do not want the models released outside of the company, because if one person gets it, somebody else, like you're talking about hacker stuff, like somebody else could get the 3D file, and then just everybody can print off the Journeyer. And
is there actual? I know sometimes people say, well, there's no merch available. Mm-hmm. I made my own. It's not taking away from them. Do you guys have actual merch? Mm-hmm. I guess I know that you do, but tell me more about. Briefly give me the spiel. Like you guys make something, but.
Mm-hmm. So with that too, it's that saying that like, well, I'm making this myself, and it's not hurting anybody. It does hurt potential sales, because that's. You made it, so now you will not purchase one. And like if a lot of people are making the thing for free, and then something does come up that's available, there's a lot lower chance that people that did get the free thing will be purchasing the legally available thing, unless if it's like a much higher quality or something. And like then there's things and stuff. I'm honestly of the opinion, just my own personal opinion is, if there's no interest by the company that to make a very specific thing, then I think it should like be fine if you're not doing it commercially. But according to law, that's still copyright infringement, even if you aren't producing it commercially. If you still do produce this thing, like that'd be a copy of a 3D model, that's still out of bounds for copyright. But yeah, basically nobody will go up against that one, because if it says that they have fair use to create something like that, as long as they don't sell it, then that just kind of that would, like, if something like that would pass through like the Supreme Court or something, or any specific court in the United States, that would be a huge for like the do-it-yourself sort of thing, and just for copyright itself. So with that game company, we have Sony and that game company. We have like independently and some together created merchandise, either for that game company or for Journey, Bull and Flower. So here I have, right here, this is that game company T-shirt.
The Wrinkle Edition.
The Wrinkle Edition that you can comment on YouTube.
Yeah. So he was saying, he's being so kind. We're gonna put this on the podcast for sure. Like, I thought this was gonna be 5 minutes, and it's 30 minutes. Like, I know him too well. We're gonna talk forever. He said he's willing to, I don't know, donate. We're going to do a giveaway for 2 T-shirts.
2 T-shirts.
And if you are interested, let's just give me that shirt. The first 2 people write it something like that. If you say something like, hey, I'd like a shirt, Aaron will send it to you. Just say that, and then we'll send us an inbox or something, and we'll figure that out. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, we think this is like super cool. This 3D ring, you can see a little easier.
Me too.
But the response was really good. Really good response to this. I'd like to see more people with this, but I don't think enough people know about it.
So that's what we're here for. Hopefully, we'll get some more people to print this off.
Right, so
this ring is available. It is
free download. You can download the thing for free. It's hosted at that game company's fancy website. And so you should have no problem downloading it. It should be nice and fast.
Yeah, and all the copyright and intellectual property stuff is taken care of by Sony, not so much by that game company. Yeah. You guys seem like you're relatively lax.
As long as people don't use screenshots or something to sell, then we're really open to fan art.
As long as you draw it yourself, like me.
Yeah.
So this is going to go on some T-shirts, guys. If I'm not really going to do that. if anybody wants that on a shirt, I could probably figure it out.
He's got hands too, but in the game he doesn't got any hands. So.
I think. Thank you very much for coming in.
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah. So Aaron Grubbs, that game company community manager. I'm really bad at ending these sorts of things. So
we can just play with the Star Wars figurines for about 5 minutes.
Back to the podcast. Okay, so
I don't know how to.
We'll just say, okay, yeah, great interview, Aaron and Eric. So next we have this guy here. His name is Cromulon, I believe. Cromulon. Do you know?
I know you spelt it wrong in the email.
Did I really?
Yeah, there's an
I sent myself an email, so.
Yeah, there's an extra N in there.
Oh, I don't remember. Either way, it's from the show Rick and Morty, season 2, episode 5. I looked all this up. I don't remember, but Get Swifty was the episode. It's pretty much. I actually wrote myself the description from the IMDb. Rick and Morty must aid Earth after a giant head disrupts the planet, demanding to see a hit song performed. So pretty much this giant head comes in. I might have a little clip right here, and then
show me what you got.
Show me what you got. So it's like an intergalactic dance music contest.
Yeah, I guess.
It's really weird. If you haven't seen the show, it won't make a whole lot of sense. But if you have, every episode's super weird. Every episode they kind of start over almost.
Yeah, so it's on Adult Swim.
Adult Swim
on Cartoon Network.
Not currently, but this episode is from August, which is like half a year ago now.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
So the show creator, Dan Harmon, he's also the guy behind the TV show Community.
Yeah, I think he does some of the voices.
I think he does almost all, he does a ton of the voices.
So Ice-T was in this episode, or like ice. They called him something else because he was like actually made out of ice.
Okay.
It was, just watch the episode. It's really stupid. But Dan Harmon voiced Ice-T. I was like, is that Ice-T? Like, no, it wasn't, because I looked at it just now. Yeah. So back to this. A friend of mine was just saying, hey, did you see that? There's a 3D printed version of the giant head from Rick and Morty. Because he just started watching it, and then 2 weeks ago, this pops up on Reddit. It has 3,000 upvotes, and I'm guessing that's pretty good. I'm not
That's really good.
I'm not. I don't use really Reddit.
And so I follow a few different subreddits, and it showed up in a few different spots. So I think.
I saw it in the Rick and Morty subreddit. That's where my friend showed me.
It was also in the r/geek and r/3D printing. And I'm sure it showed up in a few other places too. So it got a ton of traffic.
Yeah, the picture was of this. It's a little bit bigger, the version that he printed off through 3D Hubs. I think he actually works at 3D Hubs. His name is Victor. His online name is TORVIC, which is just Victor, like the vowels are swapped. But I think they said our designer, like the 3D Hubs guy answering questions.
It probably is.
So
it probably is a 3D Hubs guy.
They said our designer. So like, oh, okay. And because they're using all these really fancy filaments. But the first one is a wood fill, and I think it's just maybe a couple inches longer. And then it has this really big seam on it, like just where the Z point will start every time, or whatever. Wherever it starts, it's the same start point. So you can see the seam.
It starts in the same. Yeah. It's also called the zipper sometimes. So it starts in the same spot.
So I had some of the comments from the Reddit because I thought some of them were funny, or just internet stuff.
From the Reddit.
Yeah, the Reddit.
The Reddit.
Okay, so the first one that I saw, everybody wanted the file, even if they didn't have a 3D printer. Like, where's the file? So somebody said, they knew it was an STL file.
Yeah.
So do you have the STL file for it? And then someone says, OP, please. Or OBJ. Like, okay, and then it starts derailing. Like, OBJ is actually a 3D file.
Yeah.
And then MP3, TXT, EXE.
Well, you ended up, you had a pun chain, basically.
Yeah. And then,
or a pun thread.
Someone said it's pronounced GIF, J-I-F-F.
Choosy moms, choose.
No one even mentioned it. And then someone said FLP, which is Fruity Loops, which is a music program. So I mean, it derailed pretty quick.
Well, and it's interesting to see how the different subreddits react, because in our 3D printing, they're all asking, oh, what material was it printed in? What were your print settings? What printer was it made on? What slicer did you use? I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I was reading in the Rick and Morty subreddit, and a lot of them don't know as much about 3D printing, so they're asking. A lot of them are just like, how does work? Like pretty much.
Yeah, it's a lot of general questions.
Is it heavy? And then just stuff that I know, but they don't, maybe because they do other stuff. Someone was asking about like the seam, and then someone said, hey, change the Z location where it starts. It's like in the jitter setting, which you can't really mess with that in MakerBot, I don't believe, but in most open source things,
in a lot of other slicers.
So it'll move that start point for the layer somewhere else. So they'll
or you can even randomized would have been better.
So that's what I meant. Yeah, it'll start anywhere else, and then it'll still be there. It'll still be a mark, but it'll be less noticeable overall. And then someone said, subreddit 3D printing answers all the questions you have sometimes. I think there was one more where it's just someone was talking about like sanding, and who was it? Someone said, okay, his name was Nope. Sand that shit, loser. Okay, yeah.
Real constructive criticism.
Yeah. The worst thing, if you can see it, it looks veiny on the back. And I printed this one. I guess we'll talk about slicing again. I printed this one like this. So I figure like, okay, all the support material is going to be on the back. You won't really see it.
Yeah.
The guy that uploaded it said you cut it in half or like just print it with supports. He didn't say orientation. It comes into the program like this, I think. Which I don't know what to do with that.
It wouldn't be awful to print,
it might have been like this actually, like facing down. So I wanted to move it. So this one I printed like this, and it didn't clean up very well. I have some pictures that I guess I can show you, but I have on the screen right now for everyone else. And then all the supports and stuff. The supports were kind of tricky. Like one pillar support structures are horrible because they always tip over. And it ends up like getting oozy and going in, and you end up getting another seam somewhere else. So this one I printed on the chin like this. And it went a lot better actually. Like there are some spots, but they're still kind of on the back. And then the nose on this one, since it printed like this, the last thing it printed was the nose, and it got kind of another shell probably would have fixed that. But
yeah,
I'm trying to think if I had any more notes. I'm flipping back and forth. I don't have an Alt tab on my on my tablet here. Pretty much slicing issues, but they weren't terrible. Just a little bit of cleanup. And this was all printed in beer filament, except for this. This was coffee. But I think that's what I have. And then you can get this file on Cult3D, TORVIC, that's Victor or TORVIC, and I think it's about $5. I don't know if it was like European, like a euro that went to, it's like $4.88 or something.
I mean, that's not bad though. It's a nice, really high resolution file.
It's pretty good. Yeah, my friend ended up buying it, and I said, okay, if you buy the file, I'll print it for you, and just kind of, so he got a gimme. and I got the 3D file.
So Colt's 3D is coming after you now.
Yeah, I'm or maybe TORVIC.
Well, he got. I mean, it's for a print, you got $5.
Yeah, so. Sort of. Yeah, we didn't charge him.
I don't know. It's cool how the. I'd be curious to know how successful some of those 3D file marketplaces are, as far as how much revenue they generate.
There are quite a few of them.
Because Cult 3D is one.
I want to do a podcast about that specifically. I had a list, and I'm going to probably cap it at 20, because we can't talk about that many. Maybe five good ones, and mention the outliers.
And the thing is, there's a lot of startups that decide to get into it because it's a low barrier to entry and high potential to be generating a lot of revenue. Because let's say you take a 15% commission on every file that is downloaded. Okay, well, if you only need to have one person upload a file, you don't need to be printing those things. It's a digital thing. You can create as many copies of it as you want.
Yeah, as long as people aren't uploading crazy stuff, you don't need a whole lot of. Yeah, I mean,
you need moderation, of course, and you need someone to build the site, maintain it, and someone to really manage the community. And I mean, there's a lot that goes on.
To get a really nice website, there's a lot. Obviously, it's a lot of work.
Well, it's kind of, if you look at the difference between. So this is more service bureau side of things. But if you look at 3D Hubs versus MakeXYZ.com, they started out at about the same time. Quality-wise, I think they started out at about the same. You weren't quite sure which one was going to pull ahead. But now 3D Hubs is just far and away better than MakeXYZ. I mean, as far as interface, how everything is integrated, how much the community has grown. MakeXYZ, it felt like it just grew to a point, and then they ran out of funding, or it was just a one-man band running it, and it's just sort of plateaued. I mean, it's still out there. People still use it, but I'm not
super familiar with that one. But I mean, I also joined the 3D printing game a little later than a lot of people that are doing it now. Or I like the 3D printing heads, like the big geeky guys. Like you were an early adopter.
Yeah, I 3 years ago. 3 years and a month ago now, I got my first PrinterBot Junior kit. That
you're still using it.
Well, not daily, but it still works.
Use it for testing, or still works. It's right next to your desk.
Yeah,
small.
But I guess speaking of community stuff, we did have a couple questions. Some of these have been on I think we've addressed some of them in the comment section, but they've been out there for a bit.
The first reference was to Biagi Mendoza, if I'm pronouncing that pretty close.
I think close enough for a YouTuber.
He asked about. He wanted us to compare the Raise 3D and the
Big Box.
And then someone else asked to compare the same two and then the G-Max.
Yep.
And then somebody else asked about Robo 3D, and I don't remember what happened with that.
No,
question,
so it was that same guy. He also asked about Robo 3D.
Okay, so it's the same two people, but sorry, we're getting to it now.
Yeah,
like 2 months and 1 month ago were the questions.
But this does bring up a big thing, though. People ask us all the time, okay, I want to get into 3D printing. Which 3D printer should I get? The problem is there's so many different 3D printers out there, and a lot of them, I'd say your top 2/3 of 3D printers, they're all quality-wise going to be about the same as far as print quality, build quality. The thing is, there's so many different ones out there. I mean, a couple of these I hadn't heard of until we had the questions come in. It's just, they're so small, they maybe only have a dozen or 24 or maybe 100 printers out in the wild. It's difficult to really know how they're going to work without having hands-on time with it. And that's the same thing with all these printers that we were asked to compare. Like, the only ones that I've seen running in person so far are the Raise 3D printers and the Robo 3D printers. So the G-Max printers, I haven't seen them run. I can tell you what the specs are.
It's a proven concept, like as far as the design. It's a very similar, like, you've seen the design.
It's a Mendel style. Yep. It's a Mendel style printer. Your Y-axis moves forward and back. Your X-axis is on the gantry, left and right, and your Z-axis moves with the X-axis gantry. So that's the G-Max. It looks like a very nice printer. It seems, when you're looking at the build volume of it, and the one I'm looking at right now is the version 1.5 plus, 16 by 16 by 12 inch build volume, very good. And then the 1.5 XT plus, oh man, we've got a train going by. That one is 16 by 16 by 21 inches. So I mean, it's a pretty big build volume. Price-wise, I don't see the price on here, but I'd be willing to bet it's in that $1,500 to $3,000 price range.
If we find it, just
Eric, you'll throw that down. He'll throw that down in the lower third. So okay, so that's the G-Max. I mean, again, it looks like a great printer, but we just haven't had hands-on time with it. Now, the other one we haven't had hands-on time with is the Big Box. So this one's interesting because it's a collaboration between, I believe it's a collaboration. I might be misspeaking here. It's either a collaboration or a whole new company between E3D. And E3D is a big deal because they make all
the hot ends.
Yeah, they make
people want pretty much.
Yeah, they make really good extruders and hot ends.
And if they're not making the extruder, someone is making theirs. You know, it's
based
pretty
on
much
their designs.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Lulzbot, for example.
Modification.
Lulzbot, for example, doesn't source their. I was wrong about this in an earlier podcast. They don't source their extruders from E3D, but it's based on an E3D hexagon design. So I think what they did is they took that design, which is open source, and they found another manufacturer for it, and that's where they get their extruders from. Now the printer. All right, here's the Big Box.
So this was from a Kickstarter, a pretty successful one.
Yeah, and it has a quote on here from Make Magazine that says the next great 3D printer, which very well might be. From the outside, it almost looks like an Ultimaker 2. But the things that are, that really set it apart, so big build volume, 12 by 8 by around 12 inches, so it's not huge. Well, I mean, it's big by a lot of desktop printers.
Bigger than most.
So 50 micron layer resolution, pretty par for the course. Downloadable and hackable, so this is really nice. They have all the plans for the laser cut frame available online. Very similar to the Ultimaker 1. Auto leveling, which is pretty standard now.
I think we've talked about this in the past, and there's a crazy. It's not a huge angle, but it's like a 15-degree angle, maybe 10-degree angle.
Was it on this one that it could?
I think it was this one,
able to compensate for
so
it.
It's not so much auto level. It levels as it goes, so it just compensates for any unlevel spots. But it has a lot of touch points too, like 9 or some weird number.
It's probably 9.
It's a pretty good range for auto level, like one of the better ones I've seen.
So I mean, the tagline for this is the open source high spec desktop 3D printer. So again, I'm sure it's going to be a really nice 3D printer. I'm sure it has a really nice extruder. I mean, a lot of these just start blending together. Does that mean it stopped? So the two printers that we do have a lot of experience with are not a lot of experience. We've seen them run though, which is more than we've seen a lot of the other printers do.
We've seen really nice videos of the other ones, but these other ones we've seen in person, and like with Raise 3D, which you're going to mention, we have an interview with I believe it was Joseph from Toy Builder Labs, and he showed us the backup option for that.
Yeah, so it's a really nice printer, really good price for the build volume that you have. I know the N2, which is going to be the most popular model, it's 12 by 12 by 12 inches. I think their retail on it, or maybe it's their pre-order price, but it's $2,500 with dual extruders. So I mean, really good price for a dual extruder system, and we saw it run. I mean, it does dual extrusion, very nice. It can use any slicer. They have their own slicer too, which gives additional metadata to the G-code file. But yeah, I mean, you could use Simplify 3D or Cura or Slicer, whatever you want. Really nice looking printers. The other ones are Robo 3D. So these have a smaller build volume overall, but they have a lower price point too. I think retail they're $899, and Robo 3D is they're in more big box stores. So I think if you go to Best Buy, you can actually see a Robo 3D printer there. You can buy 3D printing materials there. And I know they were in Costco for a while. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. But again, the prints that we were seeing off of it, very nice print quality. I don't know, it gets tougher and tougher to figure out which 3D printer to recommend because they're so similar. I mean, really, what I like to do is look at the community that's around the 3D printers. If there's a lot of activity, then hey, if something does go wrong, even if the company's customer support is busy, at least there's this community of people. And if you also see that active community, you can get an idea of what problems you're going to run into. Sure. If there is a reliability problem, or if there are upgrades that you want to install pretty much day one. So
Robo 3D as well has 2 new models coming out, the R2 and R2 Mini. Yeah, or I think it might just be, I don't remember.
I think it is the R2 Mini.
Those are going to be very reasonable price points. I think it was like sub 1,000, then sub.
Because I think
he told us the numbers. I don't remember. I don't remember the shipping date either.
They're in the same ballpark as the R1 Plus, which is that $800 price point. I'm just not sure how much different.
Just go check out the interview because it was really good.
Yeah, and I don't know when they're shipping. I don't know if they said when they're shipping in the interview either, because they're still trying to figure out some supply chain stuff. Because they actually announced the R2 back at the prior CES 2015.
Okay.
Now the design has changed quite a bit.
It looked like it was ready to ship.
It was way boxier at CES 2015. CES 2016, much sleeker. It has almost like a
more
pod.
Beveled edges, and it was still square-ish, but it was more like a Tupperware box as far as like the edges.
Yeah.
Not saying it's like a Tupperware box, but as far as the shape of the corners.
Yeah.
One note is I've been following this guy. He was the guy that was asking the question. Biaggi Mendoza Productions. I think it's PRODT. Mm-hmm. He said that he's going to get an N2. So I think the interview that we posted might have swayed him to go that way. But that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. It's a great printer. And I just said, hey, let us know how it goes. He's going to get it sometime this spring. So
yeah, because I think Raise 3D is still looking to ship in earnest late March,
early April, something like that. That's what he said. And so we'll keep our eyes open.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the printers survive shipment from China. I mean, the ones that they were using for the trade show, those have all survived just fine, and those have been lugged all over the place. So if those can survive it, I think the consumer versions will be able to survive too.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So hopefully you like the new format. I mean, it's in a work in progress. I don't know how it's going to look yet because I haven't put it together, but hopefully the interviews are interesting. We're going to try to have, I don't know if it's going to be one a week, but I'm going to try. That's going to be a tall order, but I have a list of people, and if you are interested, you, the listener, watcher, are interested, reach out, just Facebook or YouTube, and I'm trying to figure out like a Skype in option. It's not going to be something that you just call in and do it. We'd have to arrange ahead of time, make sure everything's connected right, but then we could talk. If you have a company that's doing something really cool, or if you're just a hobbyist and then want to share your story, we'll try it out.
Yeah, we think that's cool too. But if you have any other questions, always feel free to leave them down below in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us. That way you always get the newest interviews, the newest podcasts as they come out. We're on a bunch of other social media channels. I'll leave you to find those. I think Eric's going to have the links down below for those too. So on behalf of Eric Faldy, myself, John Schneider, we want to thank you for watching another episode of the Fargo 3D Printing Show.
I'll put it on this finger. I took a picture in my left
hand. Oh, Eric, you got something to tell us?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want any questions. I tell my parents there's a girl I know, and they're like freaking out. You got to talk to her, Eric.